Well, I'm on the phone with head football coach from MDI, Mark Shields, as we are every Monday and Thursday during football season. And Coach, it's hard to believe we started this back in August, and here it is, Week 8, the final regular season week, and a big game against Old Town on Friday night.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's amazing how fast the season goes. Although sometimes your body feels like, oh my gosh, it's been going on forever. But
we're not even playing.
I know. We shouldn't be tired or sore, but sometimes I feel like I've played every down. Yeah, I mean it's huge, and I was talking to the kids the other day, and I said, guess what our record was last year at this time? And a lot of the kids had no idea. I said, we had the same record last year at this time, and they're like, what? Like, yeah, we were 6-1 going up to Old Town.
And had you won in Old Town, you would have had a bye.
Yep. I said same, very similar scenarios. I mean, the biggest difference is the fact that last year we couldn't have gotten to 1, but I think we could have gotten to 2 because Winslow was undefeated. And
well, you would have knocked off Old Town, and that would have given Old Town their one loss of the season, and that's how you would have won. But unfortunately, as you remember, it wasn't a real close game.
No, it wasn't. They totally outplayed us, outcoached us, out-everything us. It was a bad night for the Trojans, and, obviously we're hoping that this Friday night's going to be a lot better for us. But, the thing about Old Town is they're very well coached. They now have that belief that they can win every game that they step on the field. And when you have a team that has that belief, they're scary to compete against because they know they can win. They know that they can beat you, and they're a good team. I mean, they have 4 wins. They've beaten some good teams. They've been in a lot of close ball games. You look at their scores compared to common opponents of ours, and they're very similar. Much like Oceanside, when we were talking a week ago about them, I'm thinking it's going to be just like Oceanside. It's probably going to come right down to the wire, probably a touchdown ball game, and the field conditions sound like they're going to be a little sloppy, and turnovers. You have to protect the football. You talk about keys to victory. You can't turn the ball over, and the reality is the ball is going to be on the turf a few times because it's going to be wet and sloppy. So, for me, I think it's going to come down to execution on both sides of the ball and special teams. And the biggest part is don't turn the football over. I think the battle of the turnovers will tell the tale at the end of the night. And, for Old Town, they're trying to move up the ladder in the playoff scene. And for us, we're trying to hold on to that number 1 spot, get the bye week next week, and then have home field advantage through the playoffs, which it just doesn't get any bigger than that. So it's huge. It really is. And the kids understand, the repercussions of this game either way. And, but with that being said, we're not putting a lot of pressure on ourselves. I think you just got to go out and you have to play the game. You got to put all that stuff aside and, execute that night and try to get the victory.
Well, and the other thing for Old Town is that should they lose and Belfast beat Oceanside and Foxcroft beat John Baptist, Old Town conceivably could be that team that's going to be on the outside looking in. Exactly,
and they're not going to want to take that chance of that happening for sure, because you're right, then it comes down to strength of schedule and all that stuff that we've been talking about the last few weeks. So if you take care of your own business and win, then you don't have to worry about all that other stuff, and I'm sure that's what they're talking about up there all week. So they will be ready to play. They'll be excited, and I think it's going to be a heck of a football game.
You do get gain Colby Lee back, and if you would talk a little bit about that and how he's practiced this week.
Yep, so Colby has been cleared fully. He's practiced all week. We've been monitoring his wrist. He says it feels good. We've been taping it. He wears a glove over that. He says when he turns it a certain way, sometimes he feels some discomfort, but overall it's not an issue at all. And he's had a great week of practice. Feels good, looks fast, carrying the ball well, and, he's a confident kid anyway. And, obviously it feels good to have a guy of his caliber back on the field because, he is a touchdown waiting to happen. I mean, he's that fast and that dynamic where every time he touches the ball, there's a chance that he's going to take it to the end zone. So that's a good feeling to have a guy on the field like that.
When it's wet and slippery, the offense generally has the advantage over the defense. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's true. And some people might say, well, that doesn't seem to make sense. But the offense knows where they're going, and the defense is trying to figure out where the offense is going. And you're right. So you have that first step. Every offensive play, you have the first step on the defense. They're trying to figure out what's going on after that first step, based on their reads and what's going on with where the ball is and whatnot. So, sometimes it can slow down a real speedy kid, but the reality is it's going to slow down the kid that's not super speedy. So sometimes it does kind of average out. Where sometimes it gets you is where, the kid will slip and fall, and we've seen that before. But, it's football, and you play on nasty turf, and you play in wet conditions, and that's kind of the way the game was built to be played, and, that's what we're going to do Friday night.
All right, it's senior recognition night, as we do every year. I'm going to let you go through the roster and name the seniors and give a sentence or two about each one.
Yep, so we have 11 seniors this year, a real strong class, just some real nice kids and some excellent football players. And I'll start with Noah Hutchinson. Noah, he's a transfer student this year. He came from Leavitt High School. He's kind of prides himself, I think, on being a track guy. I guess he's a real good track star and long jumper type guy, high jumper. And he's come up to us at MDI, and I think he's really enjoying it here. Just a super nice kid, real smart guy, a real good special teams player for us this year. And, he's still learning the game, never played before, but he's a great practice guy. He pushes our starters to their limits, and real happy to have him. Secondly, I'll talk about Giovanni McKenzie. Giovanni, this is his second year playing football. He is a Jamaican, and he transferred here a few years ago, and he's more of a soccer guy, but he decided to play football, and I think he loves it. He really enjoys it. He's done a nice job. Once again, he's a lot like Noah. He's a good special teams guy. We have him on our kickoff team and our punt teams, and he does a nice job. He's real fast down the field, and he's been tackling real well, so real pleased with his effort, and hopefully that continues Friday night for him. Next guy I'll talk about will be, let's go, Gus Reeves. Gus is a guy, if any of you follow MDI sports, Gus is a guy that he's known him, pretty much as a basketball player. He did play in the Acadian Football League when he was a younger kid, but then this year we're issuing equipment, and there's Gus, and he's decided he's going to play football, and thank goodness he did. Gus has had a big year. He's started out on the special teams for us, and then he eventually became a full-time starter on the defensive side of the ball at free safety, and he's just having a great year. Real smart guy and just a nice kid to be around. Next guy, Ezra Johnson, and Ezra is a guy that he was going to be a star this year for us. He's the fastest kid on our roster. We timed the 40s in the spring, and he had the fastest time on that. And Ezra, he had a knee injury versus Foxcroft, the very first game of the year. He had an amazing game that night, and I know that he was going to be an all-conference type guy, and it's really too bad that his season ended the way it did, but he had a great junior year, and he's been super supportive the whole time this season. He shows up to practices, he's filling the water buckets, he's there for the guys, so just a great kid. Another guy, Griffin Sanders. Griffin's a guy that has been playing soccer, and he decided to come out for football this year, and we're glad he did. He's another guy that he's a special teams type guy. He's been on our kickoff return team a few times this year. Great practice player, really pushing the other kids, the starters, and just a nice guy to have in the program. So real happy that Griffin came out. Let's talk about Drew Rich. Drew, he's a captain. Drew, he's probably one of the best kickers in the league. I think personally he is the best kicker in the league. Great defensive player. He plays cornerback for us. He's a tough guy as far as coming up and tackling. He's also a real good coverage guy. And then on the offensive side of the ball, he plays end for us. and he has great hands. And not only does he have great hands, but he can block real well. He's, for a guy that you look at him, he's kind of skinny, Drew is, but he's a physical guy. He really is, and he's a real smart kid. So he's having a great year for us.
I think leads the conference in punt returns.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. He is definitely the best punt returner in our conference. He has at least one this year. I know he had a couple touchdowns that he brought back on punt return last year. He's a good kickoff return guy. He's a real, he does everything for us. He rarely ever comes off the field. If I don't think he ever does, because he kicks off for us as well. And this week he'll actually be punting for us. So he does a lot. Next, I'll talk about Luke Mitchell. Luke is a guy, he transferred in a couple years ago to MDI. He's been playing football for us for 2 years. And Luke's one of those guys that he studies film all the time. He's in Coach Arnold's room looking at tape, talking to Coach Arnold, picking his brain on what he needs to do this week. He's always asking questions about what we need to do and when. And Luke's the type of guy, you see him in the hallway, he's like, gee, a super nice guy, always smiling, but he's on the field, he's a tough dude, and he'll come up and he'll hit you. And on the offensive side of the ball, he's a great blocker. He has good hands. We'll hit him down on, we call it the pop pass, where he's straight down the field. We'll hit him on that, and Luke's just having a phenomenal season. Real happy for him. Next guy, let's go with Jimmy Carroll. Jimmy, 4-year player for us. He's a captain. Jimmy is a guy that just has worked extremely hard in the off season to get himself strong, and he's come in this season, and he was a starter at cornerback, and he never gave it up because he's just played so well for us. Great cover guy, and not only a great cover guy, he's a real good tackler for us. So Jimmy's having a real strong season. Real proud of him. Real happy for him. Next guy, Chris Farnsworth. Chris is another guy. He does it all for us. I mean, if you read the newspaper or you follow us at all, you're going to hear about Chris Farnsworth, and he's just having a phenomenal season at all aspects of the game. Once again, he's a good special teams guy. He's our long snapper on punt. He's a good return guy. He's a good coverage guy. He does a lot of special teams for us. On the defensive side of the ball, he plays our strong safety. He's had some good interceptions this year. He's a good cover guy, and more importantly, he's a great tackler. And he'll come up and he'll stick you. He's a hard hitter. And then on the offensive side of the ball, he has been tremendous. He has been a guy that, for starters, he's been healthy the whole season. He worked hard in the off season to get himself stronger, and it's really showing up this year on the football field. And he's a real good straight-ahead type runner, and he'll run you over. He's that kind of guy. So having a huge year. Next guy I'll talk about, Spencer Kashmar. Spencer, once again, 4-year player. Spencer is a super smart guy. He's one of our we call him our brainiacs, our smart dudes, and he's one of them. And he's a guy that he studies film. He studies what he's given defensively. He's a pretty dynamic guy on the defensive line. That's why we really like him on the defensive line, because he's not a super huge guy like some of the real huge defensive tackles, but he's a real athletic defensive tackle, and he's a handful to block because he's quick to the point of attack, and he's having a real strong year. So real happy for Spencer. And then lastly, I'll talk about Graham Good. Graham, once again, 4-year guy. Graham is probably the hardest hitter we have on the team. Graham is a guy that he's a gym rat. He lives in the weight room in the off season. If you watch him play basketball, he's super physical. He's a great rebounder, strong in the post area. And for football, we got him at linebacker. He's been playing some tight end. You'll see him at fullback Friday night for us. He's just a guy that you can stick anywhere on the field, and he's going to be a player. I mean, when I talk about a football player, when I say football player, I think of a guy like Graham Good, because he's just a tough dude that you can put him pretty much any position on the field and he's going to excel at. So we've been real fortunate to have the kids that we have. I couldn't ask for a better group of seniors. I really couldn't. Just some real strong character type guys, some great leaders, and some great football players. So it really has been a joy this year to coach this entire football team, right from my freshmen all the way to my seniors. They just enjoy spending time with one another, and us coaches, we love to spend time with them. So it really has been awesome.
This was the year you were going to be done. I mean, it's we look back and, you're pretty happy you're here.
Yeah, you're right. I was thinking a couple of years I might get done, and definitely it was going to be last year. And I just saw the group of kids we had coming back, and I thought, you know what, I would love to have another year with these guys. And I've logged in for another year because I'm really, the kids that we have are younger guys. I want to spend more time with them. So, but that senior class for sure, they were a big part of my decision.
All right. What do you want to say to the fans?
Yeah, once again, thank you for your continued support of MDI football. It's been tremendous. We're hoping that you can get out Friday night. I know it's supposed to be a little damp, but I think it'd be worth coming out with the umbrellas and the rain jackets to see a real good football team. You're going to see a football game. You're going to see really two good football teams going at it, and two teams that have a lot, to play for. So I think it'd be worth coming out and cheering us on.
All right, and just so you don't have to sleep on the couch, what do you want to say to your wife as we end the regular season?
Yeah, once again, thank
Holly,
you, honey.
Yes, Holly.
For putting up with me this is my 21st year doing this. We haven't known a married year together that I haven't coached football, and I know it's a lot of time, and, away from our family. We have 3 children, Madeline, Delaney, and Jacob, and our girls play volleyball. Jacob plays football in the fall, and here I am coaching varsity football, and I'm gone a lot, and she has to pick up the slack. I mean, she's the one trucking these guys around most of the time and being there when they need, a parent, and, I'm out on the football field. So, I can't thank her enough, and lucky to have her. Love her very much.
All right, Coach. We'll see you Friday night. Good luck.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Chris.